Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. No more. Black and white, no more, baby. Love, no more, baby. Just black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white, 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 white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white, 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 white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone, welcome for this lovely Monday evening here on Simracersworld TV for the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series, of course sponsored by Dynamixx Racing Simulators of Belgium. We're at Pocono Raceway, we're at the tricky triangle, and it's sure going to be tricky indeed tonight. My name is Hasse Rømer, I'm here with Jack Oliphant, and Jack, chat talking about 5 wide on the front stretch here. The tricky triangle makes for quite an enthralling name, and I've got high expectations for tonight. What about you, mate?
Yeah, I do as well. Hi, Hasse, and hi, everyone, as well. It's lovely to see people already in the comments starting up the chat. It's brilliant to see that alive and kicking. We love to interact with you guys, especially during the caution periods. 5 wide down the home stretch. Apparently, in the early 90s, they actually used to change down a gear, and that was the only point they would actually end up changing up a gear is at the end of that straight. So it is certainly a long one in consideration for the NASCAR Series. It's going to be very exciting. You know, it's called the Tricky Triangle for a reason. It's banked, it's harsh, it's quick, and it's going to be some brilliant overtaking maneuvers. I can't wait for it. If it's anything like Texas last week, Hasse, I'm going to be very excited.
Yeah, last week's action was good. 2 weeks action was even. 2 weeks ago, it was even better. But let's see. We had quite a, well, they call this tricky. I think the race we had last week seemed tricky enough, but it's a very special track, this Pocono. Let's see if we can just have our last glimpses of practice session here as Tim Perry, one of our newcomers to the series in the boosted Motorsports, the car. I don't know if how much pressure I'm supposed to put on Ted. Might be a guy called Ted owning the team, Lord knows. But in the 83 car, certainly a colorful machine, something eye-catching, a Toyota Camry indeed. And of course, just you wait, we'll be in for prayers tonight, I promise you that. Oh, Tim Perry, Jack, look at that. It looks tricky indeed here at Pocono.
It does indeed, yeah, and Tim isn't the only team member of Boost Ted and Motorsport, but ironically the other member is also not named Ted. It's Robert Lundergan down in 19th position at the moment. So a team we haven't actually seen, or if they were here last year, I don't quite remember them. But yeah, you got the typical guys at the top of the leaderboard. Let's face it, you've got Lucky Dogs, Sergio Hernandez. He's been quick in practice so far. The team down under team as well, and Van Eckhoven as well. He's in 3rd place at the moment. Top of the pile at the moment though is Simracersworld Esports, Mathieu Soufi. So they, coming back stronger than ever for the Tricky Triangle, and hopefully maybe we'll get. Well, we're always going to get new leaders, and we're always going to get new people fighting at the front because that's NASCAR, isn't it? It's just constantly ever changing, and you could crash out, get a quick repair, and be back up the front of the field by 50 laps in.
Yeah, very much so, and yet we've seen one man, one driver, one guy come to the fore of everything. Right now he's in behind his pit crews here, hiding. And this is a very poor camera angle. I've hardly ever seen anything like it. But he's not on track at the moment. So, of course, we'll cut to him as soon as he does. But he's second here in practice. I'm of course talking about Sergio Hernandez. For Lucky Dogs Racing, who's taken 2 wins on a row, 2 wins on a trot. And by the way, while we're still doing the last seconds of practice here, let me just take this chance to welcome everyone. A very warm welcome indeed on a cold Monday evening. On a cold Monday night by now it is. I'll just have to scoop my mic a little. I hope that wasn't too bad. Oh, I know it's terrible. Sorry. But anyway, welcome Eusebio. Welcome to Hendrik, to the Hopley man himself, and to, of course, Anton Dupin. As we are getting qualifying underway here, Jack.
We are, yeah, looking forward to it. And as Hasse said, hello to everyone who's tuned in to watch as well. I hope you guys are enjoying it. We've already got a couple of people jumping into the chat, making sure they're giving their drivers their support, basically, which is awesome to see. Yeah, Pocono, as some people are saying as well, it's the longest stretch in NASCAR as well, the longest straight in NASCAR, which is going to be absolutely awesome. And another fun fact that I saw just before, there are, normally Silverstone, I'd say at Silverstone there are 3, maybe touching on 5 configurations of a track. Here, Hasse, at Pocono, they have 44 configurations to a racetrack, including the infield.
That's absolutely fantastic. And then, it's Roger Morton in the 92 car, finding the qualifying setup to be a slippery setup indeed. And in the meantime, Frederik van Eekhoven is going quickly at the early days of qualifying. Another fun fact about this track is that the bankings, I don't know if it's a fun fact for the drivers, Frederik van Eekhoven also finding it tricky indeed, but as you can actually see, these corners really aren't too banked at all, and that means that there will be quite a lot of braking implied. This is much more akin to road racing than the few weeks of racing we've already had. This widely different in the end. Of course, you still do only turn left, but the varied banking of the tracks, or the corners on the track, is as such. It's a 14-degree banking in turn 1, and that's modeled after the Trenton Speedway. Turn 2 has an 8-degree banking known as the Tunnel Turn, and it's modeled after Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then turn 3 with a 6-degree banking is modeled after the Milwaukee Mile. And that's so it's kind of 3 tracks thrown into one here. And I'll be interested to see if it's the same drivers at the front, or if it's going to be the more road experienced fellas given a shot here, a chance, if you will.
Yeah, that's what we're all here to see, really, isn't it? As we're getting the first few times coming through in qualifying. Obviously, every driver has a different sort of server that they can. So basically, they have a free road and a clean track that they are driving around in, which is maybe why there's certain drivers are struggling slightly to maybe, you know, get the grip down, get the power down, because obviously there isn't as much rubber down on the road. But we're having a look at the low 53s of Franks at the moment. We're expecting to see very, very small margins between each driver, aren't we, Hasse? I think that's what we've come to learn. Look at the fighting he's having to put right on his car to get that NASCAR around the corner. They're having to do that for nearly 2 hours, and it's going to be a tough test, but a real testament to driver ability. But like I was saying, Hasse, it's going to be very low margins, isn't it? We're talking hundredths of a second, not tenths of a second, between each driver in qualifying.
Yeah, and that's already showing very well at the top of the standings here. And indeed, if anyone's on direct drives, and they've got them dialed up, as Kenzie Newhoff goes well and fast at the top of the standings, 0.2 of a second almost up on Tim Perry. But mind you, we'll have plenty of new fast times coming in. Ted Perry, a newcomer to the series, and I just realized that I raced Roger Morton in a 24-hour race at a charity event this weekend at Sebring.
Oh, really? He seems to be everywhere, Roger Morton, because he's also races in the MX5 series that I cover on a Tuesday night. So I was about to make a joke when he spat into the wall, saying that maybe he thinks he's driving an MX5, but by the sounds of it, he drives anything and everything that's available to him.
Yeah, indeed, he was in a GT for that event, and it was quite a test. And we at Team Simpact Racing actually managed to get our car through the race without even touching our fast repair in the LMP2. So we were well and happy with that. A few minor clunks and a bit of technical difficulties. One of our drivers cost us a few laps overall, and to be fair, we didn't have the pace of the absolute front runners. Well, one of our drivers did, Martin van Rijwijk, who's also racing in the SRW Gt4 Series. He, funnily enough, he was able to really match the pace of the very fastest drivers. We put the car in second. Anyway, enough about us. Very much so, and another pretty machine. That's the 999 machine of John Tusting.
Yeah, John Tusting here in about the middle of the pack. Expected to see quite a few drivers joining, because obviously there's 22 drivers on the timing tower at the moment who set a time, but we're expecting to have 27 in the session in total, unless somebody's broken some rules last week and therefore not allowed to qualify. We have got a handful of drivers still yet to put a valid lap time in. Here is Bart DeVos, who, let's face it, Hasse, he was in the wars last week. I don't think there's anything getting around that. I think he was hit off in the first 3 laps, causing the first caution. I think he then got into a representable position and then got hit straight back off again as soon as the cameras got towards him. So maybe if we keep the cameras off him this time, he'll be able to have a clean race.
It's going to be hard because we've got him, and we've got him on him already now. So it's going to be difficult indeed. But not a bad place for him to be in qualifying so far. But indeed, it's been tough times for him and his teammate. Mind you, that's Brian Harris, I think, who's also had very, very tough luck on occasion. And this is top runner Sergio Hernandez.
Yeah, I was about to say Hernandez wasn't really putting any great lap times in. He's just gone and stuck one flyer, and it's like he did, and it was a very good one because he's put him all the way in second place. But I was saying before, Hasse, that we're talking about hundredths of a second, not tenths of a second. Well, Newuff has gone and put it on pole at the moment, provisionally, obviously, but he's a tenth and a bit ahead of anybody else, and that's a pretty large margin considering it's NASCAR. I mean, it has to be Will getting a bit loose with the rear end there. Hendrik de Graeve, he's keeping that NASCAR in check, but only just. I think he's just enjoying himself, to be honest. But it will be very different when it comes to the race, won't it? Because obviously there's going to be the tow or drafting or slipstream, or whatever you want to call it. That plays a massive part, isn't it, for anybody who hasn't tuned in before?
Yeah, big time. It does. It really does. It changes everything. It's a very different complexion. But I think, of course, the qualifying setup that's been run. Remember, this is fixed setup, so they've one qualifying setup, one race setup. I don't know if it differs from race to race, but we've seen the qualifying setup being very twitchy, fast, but very twitchy indeed before. Especially, I think, when tires aren't really up to temperature yet. And as Ryan Walker is about to find out, he almost makes a just bit of a kissy contact there with the outside wall. That was on the exit of turn 1, I believe. And we're going to have to get used to the third turn, and so are the drivers. Pocono here, the tricky triangle, really got a reputation, indeed, as we've had mentions of in chat as well. It's got a reputation for being almost more of a roval, that means a road oval, if you will, because the corners are so different that it's not really that akin to oval racing. And I think, in this, I don't really have anything to base it on yet, but I think we might see advantages just being a little bigger. Differences, gaps, if you will, a little bigger this week than we've had on the previous 2 occasions. But we'll see if that's exactly the case, as we're on with a very slow-moving, hardly moving at all. Actually, he is standing perfectly still, Sergio Hernandez. Oh, there he, for the honor of the camera, just gets a bit of a move on, the 19 machine. Perhaps
it looked like he was almost caught looking at his phone there. The policeman drove past and he sort of thought, oh, God, I've got to get on with it, haven't I? I've got to go and drive. Sergio Hernandez drives off. Doesn't look like he's on a flying lap, let's put it that way, though. Stephen de Wolf and Jochen Lennertz then in the Dynamixx race simulators. It's worth mentioning Dynamixx, obviously, again, Hasse, because obviously they're supporting this series, and we're very thankful for them for doing that. But if you want to go and have a look at some of their race simulator kit, well, you can click just down below and in the descriptions, or wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and you'll be able to be taken to the website and have a look at all the Dynamixx range.
Yes, and this is actually the Dynamixx bus, and you can see, told we are on the bumper of his car. This is the Godfather, Jochen Lennertz, and of course a big thanks for making all this happen in the end, making it possible there. Steve Claes, welcome to you from work. Well, that's how it is. We all have to get down and dirty sometimes, and from one bus to another bus. Whoop, that looked a little strange. I'm sorry for the immersion breaking there. One car popping out of existence and gets replaced by another at a bit of a weird location there. That's rarely something we see. Anyway, this is the boss Ian Roots, and qualifying has finished, which I think a little bit surprising to me, but that means that we'll have Jack Oliphant ready to take you through the grid order.
Yeah, on pole position is Kenzie Newuff. Second place, Sergio Hernandez, hoping to replicate the good form that he's been taking into this week. Tim Perry in third, Sufi in fourth, Ranks in fifth, DeVos sixth, De Graeve in seventh, Van Eckerhoven in eighth, Kim Behait in ninth, Ian Root, the boss, Simracersworld boss, in 10th, Paul Gosling in 11th, and Ryan Walker in 12th. 13th, Dupan, Van Nonneker. Van Honecker, that's it. Sorry, Hasse. 14th, Lundergan in 15th, De Wolf in 16th, Bowmans in 17th, Opder in 18th, Tusting 19th, Klutz in 20th, Roger Morton in 21st, Fredericks in 22nd, Hobson in 23rd, and Lennart in 24th. Oh, and we're not finished there because Brian Harris is in 25th. Van Uytven is in 26th. Sven Galbert in 27th. And Van den Berg in 28th.
Oh, and all these Belgians must make for a nightmare for anyone who isn't really accustomed with their language. And it's a special one indeed. I find it a charming one as well. And with that said, as we're about to go on to the pace lap, it's time to follow on customs and traditions. So here is me, Hasse Rømer, with your pre-race prayer. Lord above, have mercy on the drivers throughout the race, and thank you for these Toyotas, these Fords, and these Chevys as well. Thank you for this hot Tex-Mex dinner I just had, and the beer I'm about to pop. And may you have mercy on all the internet connections. May we have a low ping of 35, everyone, today. May you also have mercy again on the equipment of all the drivers. And may the wheels and pedals, GPUs, CPUs, wirings, all that small stuff, just work flawlessly. Last but not least, may the drivers have a great race. And with that said, let's go to the front of the field, because we're getting down, we're getting dirty, and in a very short amount of time, it's going to be boogity, boogity, boogity. And with a big amen, I think we're about to get ready here at the Tricky Triangle at Pocono.
Yeah, all the drivers lining up relatively nice. It looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but hopefully they'll all sort themselves out before we get going. And it's Kenzie Newolf who's got the pace car in front of them now. It's not the safety car. This is in America, so it is the pace car. And they'll soon pull into the pits, and then it'll be Kenzie's turn to actually get the grid, slow down to the pace that they want to. And then he'll absolutely gun it. He'll drop the heavy metal and he'll absolutely fly away. And if Sergio Hernandez can keep up, well, he'll know he's in for a good race.
It's going to be like mixing Metallica and Judas Priest at 140 decibels when they hit the loud pedal. I have now, yeah. Thomas, since you just considered it, I shall be the head of a religion. That is my new path in life. Make others do the work for me. Oh my word, we have blinking. That just shows that
your prayers aren't working, Hasse. Come on.
So indeed, Kenzie Newhoff, Sergio Hernandez, then Tim Perry, and Matthew Sufi with Greg Franks also up there. And now it's Kenzie Newhoff as their green, and we're down for boogity, boogity, boogity at the Tricky Triangle. And the 62 car gets a good launch though with Hernandez on the outside. And let's see if they can get safety through turn one.
Yeah, I have to say that was an absolutely brilliant start by Kenzie, but it was an equally good start by Sergio Hernandez, who wasn't going to be caught napping. Everybody else seems to be a little bit slower than them, but I'm sure they'll catch them up before long as we don't get a caution period. And there goes the driver to the inside and more contact in the background. Well, I'll just say that it's commentator's curse and say sorry now, shall I? Because it looks like we're going to have the first caution period. The number 14 car of Anton Tupan just gets a little bit too loose on the outside of turn one, and then a whole host of other cars goes to join him. And actually, it looks like he gets turned back around there and collects a few other drivers. The 65 car of Jochen Lennartz as well. He's been caught in that, so it's unfortunate for a few drivers, but hopefully we don't get any caution periods.
Indeed, and as you can see, just coming around there with the rear end sliding, and he tries to catch it, and I don't know what's happening around him at this very moment. If we try to go up here, this is Thijs van den Berge. He gets caught up very much so in the mix of it. Where is that 5 car? Actually, he gets around it, doesn't he? Well, he's at the staying there he is, actually, staying clean there in the situation. But not exactly the start we wanted. And let's go for, well, it was seconds before we had our first caution here. That's the quickest caution we've had so far this season.
Yeah, I think that's a record that I didn't think would be broken, considering Texas last week was absolutely riddled with caution periods, but we are in one now. So we got to about the end of turn one before the pace car just, he probably didn't even turn his engine off. He probably just, drove into the pit, slowed down to a steady first gear, and then just carried on because he needs to pick up Kenzie again. Sergio Hernandez in second place, still to the top two, exactly the same as they were after what I said before, a good start. Bart the Vos has made up 2 places from 5th to 3rd. Sixth to 4th, sorry. Sufi has gone from 4th to 3rd, so a good start by him as well. Tim Perry's been the loser around the top 10 at the moment. He's lost 2 places from 3rd to 5th.
Yeah, a bit of drama here, opening round, drama indeed, and a bit of jumpers already around the field. I'm not surprised to see that. Of course, I'm not surprised to see that no one's pitting in as well. A rare sight under these caution periods. And it seems to me the caution periods might be a little longer here as well, given that doing the same amount of laps, usually it's about 3 or 4 laps, but the lap is a little bit longer here than at most other oval tracks. So you can see here 1:42, but that also makes good sense then to have 65 laps of expected racing. I must say I do remember Pocono as being very tricky. I had a NASCAR game from God knows when on the PS1, first generation PlayStation, back in, was that the year 2000 or something like that? That was a bit of NASCAR. I think it was an EA release. Probably wasn't the best game because I wasn't really that crazy about it, but I did enjoy it for quite a lot, and I remember Pocono already from back then, so something must have stuck for it to stick in my memory, and it's turning out to be tricky indeed. Of course, when coming up there with cold tires, sorry, I got with a last point with heat yet really to be built up, that makes it all the harder.
Yeah, it's very true, actually. I didn't think about the heat that these drivers would have to keep in their tyres. We don't see any weaving. I'm guessing it's probably because it's relatively tricky to weave in a NASCAR, considering you're constantly turning left down the straight, pretty much. And right. I'm not really sure which way. And you also, obviously, the camber of the wheels. You can see the angle of the wheels there. Obviously, the last thing you want to do is be pushing your luck under a safety or under a pace car, I should say. Sorry. So you're very much right, Hasse, in the fact that I think these pace car periods, these caution periods, are going to be slightly longer. They're average about 3 laps, no matter what the incident. But that means, obviously, with a longer lap, we're going to be doing this for a bit longer. But we are capped, although it's a 65-lap race, we are capped to 1 hour and 30 minutes. So realistically, we may well end up hitting the time period if we don't hit the lap count. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on that. In Texas, I think it was pretty much bang on, the lap counter and the timer as well. So that's always worth keeping an eye out on.
Yeah, it was like they had their own little race there of which could actually make it to the end, and got to be quite interesting. But yeah, indeed, and also the organizers were expecting it to be decided on time and not on laps last week, but in the end, turns out that laps did indeed rule supreme. Let's see if we make 65 of them tonight. At the front stretch alone, Eusebio here with some supreme facts indeed from chat. The front stretch alone is 10 football pitches line up, and I take that's American football, but still, that's quite a lot. And if it's what we in Europe call football, I guess it's even more. So is it going to be 10? Is it a kilometer long? It might just be. It would be the only track to have kilometer long straights, but I only know them from road racing. I know Fuji has a very famous start-finish straight of over 1 kilometer, but they are rare about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you often think about in NASCAR, because obviously everybody just sort of thinks it's an oval, therefore you don't really have any straights. But, it is, as we were saying last week, Hasse, each track is slightly different, and it requires different driving styles. You said about the banking, and we've already seen that it's quite difficult around, especially turn 1, here at Pocono. And, it's very different to how Texas drove. It's very different to how Daytona drove. So with such raw machines, well, we're about to go racing, actually. So we'll put a pin on that for the next caution period, because inevitably there will be one. And we're about to go racing again. And I'll say it this time, it's boogity, boogity, boogity. Kenzie Wolf is still ahead of Sergio Hernandez, and it looked like it was going to be a bit of contact between Sergio Hernandez and Kenzie, but luckily just got away with it because they really pushed wide the lead car. Bart de Vos is up 3 places now, so he must have gone from 6th to 3rd. And Mathieu Soufi is still in 4th place, but you can see on your screen now Bart de Vos is on the inside of the number 6, in the number 6 car. So he's got the 64 car up the inside of Soufi. So here is Kenzie, a little bit of a gap, and looks like we've all gotten through turn 1 and 2 safely, touch wood.
Yeah, you should be forbidden to ever talk about such stuff, because every time you do so, Jacko, it seems like they get it wrong. But this time not, and we've got him racing. I think everyone now being very aware that the margins are indeed thin. Here's Ryan Walker. He's made it up into 6th place. He's gained 6 places in 6 laps, so by that he'd be leading by lap 12. Let's see if that stands to hold up. He's got the 87 car of Hendrik de Graave there on the inside. That's the 83 machine of Tim Perry, who did well in qualifying, did well in practice. And the Boost Ted Motorsports team with him and Robert Lundgren certainly got some striking machinery as well. 2 different liveries. We'll get to that later. Here is Frederik van Eekhoven. He's down in 9th place, so a bit of making up to do for the team down under driver. They have been very much there or thereabouts. Not really close enough to really challenge the man that we would certainly say so far for the opening 2 weeks has been the king of this series, Sergio Hernandez.
Yeah, looking a bit further down, the fight for 6th and 7th, Hendrik de Graave and Ryan Walker, who's gained 5 positions off the start up to 7th place. He's fighting to make it 6, and he's actually got his nose ahead now. I think the 555 car is the car on the outside here. Yeah, there you go. He pitches in, and you can see he's going to be setting his sights now on trying to catch the leading 5 cars, because there's a big gap between 5th and 6th place, and you're on board with the 6th place. Well, there's no, it's because we spawned to Hendrik de Graave. That surprised me, that one, Hasse. I thought a car just appeared out of nowhere.
Wouldn't be the first time today, would it? We've already seen him in qualifying. Oh, here's a close action as well here for Sven Calvin. You can actually see this different lines being taken, and often in these kind of ovals, it seems to be one line and you make it out fairly quickly, but much more tricky here with the shallow banking here. Turn 3, just 6 degrees. That's certainly not a lot. That's in par with something you see at many road tracks. I don't know what the new Zandvoort bankings are, but certainly I'm sure someone in chat can tell me. But just for a comparison of the banking angles that we're seeing here, still Kenzie Newhoff is leading. Seems to me that Sergio Hernandez is being patient on the bumper of him there in 2nd place. You'll see he's not really looking to go for too much here early days, and as we've seen for the earlier races so far this season, tire wear has been a key deciding factor in these races, and the management of the tires especially really seems to have made the difference.
Yeah, well, last week, obviously, we had a couple of drivers come in for the interviews, and because there were so many caution periods, we didn't actually have a pit stop under green flag conditions, which meant that pretty much by the end, everyone was just trying to run on canvas, because if they came into the pits and no one else did, they'd end up maybe, their normal pit strategy would bring them in 3 laps from the end. So if they came in, no one else did, and no one got any punctures, even though they'd be a lot quicker, they'd have lost out on a whole heap of positions. So they came into the interview rooms, everyone's saying basically they had to take care of the tyres. A big swerve for the 92 car there of Roger Morton. He still isn't getting on with that corner whatsoever. But yeah, tyre management is a big one, and the longer we have green flag conditions, sort of almost harder it is to strategize, thanks to the fact that we're every time there's a caution, they might as well jump in for new tyres. But when they're in green flag conditions, it's a bit more about the tactics, maybe fuel saving, maybe tyre management.
Yeah, indeed. That's interesting. Around 19 degrees according to F1 at Zandvoort. That's 3 times the banking they go through here at the final corner. So no surprise that it's a little hard to handle in the NASCAR machinery. And we might just see some very, very tired arms come the end of this race if everybody has to do the same amount of fighting here that we were seeing some drivers having to do in qualifying and in practice as well to keep the car in line. Here's Ryan Walker, and he's being bump drafted along. It's something we haven't seen too much. They're really beginning to work together here on the long straights. trying to close the gap up to the top 5. Seems to have broken away, and it's about 2 seconds now up to Gregory Franks, Matt Sufi, Bart DeVos, Kenton Newhoff, and Sergio Hernandez, who has indeed taken the lead.
Yeah, I believe it was last week. I think we saw Hendrik de Grave. He ran out of fuel. He ended up getting pushed a bit by one of his compatriots, thanks to the fact that, you know, he just wanted to finish. So that was on the final couple of laps. And right up the inside here goes Sergio Hernandez on the replay. That's to take the overall race lead. And, well, he seems to have got a bit of a gap, half a second to the gap so far. Bart DeVos is now the driver trying to put the pressure on Newhoff. So this is going to be very interesting. Let's see if Hernandez can maybe make the gap, or Bart DeVos can help Newhoff build the pressure back up on the leader.
Yeah, indeed. Seems to be a bit of a new strategy from Sergio. He's been very patient so far. He seems to want to put on some kind of early pressure onto the opposition. You might recognize that it's not the same show of force from Team Down Under as we've seen for the previous 2 weeks. We've had all 3 cars very much up there at the front of affairs. Flemish Sim Sports very much up there. This time around in the 86 and 87 cars. That's both Hendrik de Grave in the 87 and teammate Kim Behait.
Yeah, I remember Flemish Sim Sport at the Daytona 500 event that we did. They were right at the front all the time, all 3 of their drivers. Not been quite so dominant since we've actually made this a fully fledged series. A big into the outside. That's Robert Lundgren for Boosted Motorsports, the other driver in that team. By the looks of it, just I can't quite see. That's the number 7 car, Kurt Van. That's the name I was struggling with before. Van Honecker. He was actually the car, sort of almost. Ooh, we haven't really seen enough to say at fault, but the other car involved, shall we say?
Yeah, there's a definite bit of contact there, but it's hard to say just what caused it. 2 cars fighting over a small bit of space, but on a wide track, although there is only really 1 line, and that's a huge bit of contact, I'm afraid, there for Robert Lundgren, who will certainly need to get his pit crew into action here.
It seems to be going all right for the moment to get back at a reasonable pace. So let's see if he dives into the pits. I'm not sure where the pit lane entry is. I don't know whether we just went past it. No, we didn't. But looks like it spawned the caution period. Second time today. I reckon that was a pretty good amount of green running that we just got going there, Hasse, a comparison to last week, shall we say. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame that a contact like that does bring out the pace car, considering that, you know, Robert is actually going around at a fair pace, and they will just dive into the pits when he wants to.
Yes, it is, and it's always a shame to see. I think so far we haven't had the same drivers involved twice, which means they'll get back out with a fast repair, and they'll very much still be in with a shout in the running indeed. So we're gonna have a look, because we do have a couple of good pit lane cams that'll give us a nice overview of when drivers are diving in. But you see, pit lane is still closed. Red lights at the entrance, so no one allowed to come in as of just yet. And we're thinking that might change at the end of this lap. Now 13 laps into this race, that's quite a way of a 65 lap overall distance. And as such, I think a lot of drivers are going to be thinking about making their first stops right about now. Pit lane's open, and everybody breaks in for their first pit stops.
Yeah, I just had a question on the chat that was instantly answered, but if anybody is not on the YouTube chat, I'll answer it anyway and read it out. How many fast repairs do they have? It is 2 fast repairs that these drivers can use, and that's why Hasse said, you know, if there's anybody involved twice so far, then they wouldn't have any fast repairs left. Texas, we saw quite a few incidents like that where there was an amount, you know, Bart DeVos was one of them, who he was involved in 2 early incidents, which means his fast repairs just went instantly, and therefore he actually ended up on his 3rd outing into the wall or into another car. He ended up pretty much retiring. So luckily none of that, but as the cars scream out of the pit lane, there's none of this safe release like in pit 1. No, this is fully fledged get out as quickly as you can style racing here at Pocono by the looks of it. And well, let's see how they all line back up under the pace car.
Yeah, indeed, and you see there's really a battle for position as you get out the pits. It's a question of getting it right, both with strategy and also sometimes you might just think, well, we might not take a full tank of fuel because we're expecting there to be another caution period. It would make sense indeed. And one driver has opted not to stop this time around. That's Thijs van den Berge. He's jumped the entire field and is now leading, although he'll be at a disadvantage on his tires. Kenzie Newhoff got the better of Sergio Hernandez at the pits there, and he's going to be very happy with that, I'm quite sure. Bart de Vos still in a good position, now in 4th place, matches Sufi Kimbeheid, Frederik van Evelman, and then Gregory Franks, who's dropped down for a little bit. And indeed, Eusebio, nice spot. There's no crowd. Although I have to say, I tried to turn them on, and I was a bit surprised to see that iRacing didn't really let me turn on the crowd. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they are just playing to max immersion, you could say. But of course, we don't want to inspire any craziness out there, so we'll keep it all nice and orderly for you all, unless we have a caution period. As we watch the Dynamixx Race Simulators car, why did you take this moment to open up a new tab, hop on over and check out their website and get inspired, because it's truly some great stuff on display.
It is, absolutely, and Van den Berg will have the pace car in his views. The pace car's lights have gone out, which means we are going to go racing this lap round. Obviously, it's a very long lap. But Van den Berg will become the pace car, and you can see there's the Rudolph pulling the sleigh on the side of his car, I believe, unless I've got a different livery pack open to Hasse, I think. But it's some good-looking cars here, let's face it, Hasse. They've really gone to town and trying to make their NASCAR stand out as much as like normal NASCAR in real life, I suppose. Not quite as many sponsors flying about, but they are still all distinctive.
But the fact that they have less sponsors, I think, only make it better to look at, because you can actually see what's going on beneath all the sponsorship deals. Sometimes some of the NASCAR machines can look and feel like it's just one big sticker wall of sponsors. Indeed, I know that's not necessarily the truth, and it's not the case for all cars. And there are legendary NASCAR liveries. Jeff Gordon's 24 DuPont. There was a McDonald's car back in the 90s that I remember very well indeed. So anyway, you are very much right about the fact that we're just about to go racing again. I think this indeed is turn 3. That means we'll see the pace car peel off in a moment or two as they reach the pit lane entrance. A few hundred meters to go before they hit the line, and of course they can go early, but I don't think they can overtake before they get to the line. I'm not quite sure about that. Anyway, we are back to green. It's back to boogity, boogity, boogity. And Thijs van den Berge would have wished he got a better jump there on Kenzie Newhoff, that's for sure. Sergio Hernandez is breathing up his bumper. And now they're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Let's see if we can hide the timing tower to get a better view of it. It's a great battle indeed. And there's a lot of cars squeezed into a very small amount of space. And yet all make it through. And that's a pleasure to see. Oh, I shouldn't have said that earlier. Just thought about it in the situation. It could have gone so wrong. Yet the curse have escaped us.
I think Van den Berg's tyres are really what's letting him down here. I can't imagine he's come off the throttle at all, but the fact that everyone else was just managing to pin the throttle on the left-hand side there on the infield, I just can't imagine. That number 8, I believe it is, as well. He seems, Brian Harris, I think he's driving without a front bumper, and unless my game's a little bit far behind, there seems to be a driver out there without a front end. I could be wrong, but here's the boss, Ian Rich. Oh, 83 car into the wall. That's Tim Perry and Kurt Van Honecker, sorry.
you keep getting...
I don't know why I can't say the name. Apologies, Kurt, there, if I'm saying it wrong, but Tim Perry into the wall. That's unfortunate for him. Hopefully, and yeah, there we go. The pace car's back out.
Indeed, we're back to green flag, back to caution, and we'll just scroll down through our list of incidents here as we'll try to get another look at what happened to Tim Perry here. So he gets a bit of an... Oh, he gets in front of the 87 car there. I think that's that Hendrik de Grave or Kim Behaid. It's one of the two anyways, and it's...
Hendrik.
It's Hendrik indeed, and there's nothing he can do. Just not enough space for them to really get along. And I don't think anyone else really had any big trouble there. Jochen Lennartz might be happy that he gets the chance to repair his car here. Steven de Wolf exiting the pits as well. So he might have been involved. I'm not quite sure of that. He's a lap down though on the leaders now, so that's a little bit unlucky. And that, compared to the last green period we had, that wasn't too long indeed. 83's yelling at his spotter right now. Yeah, indeed. He must have gotten the clear message just a split second too early. Now watch out, Kenzie, almost getting up and overtaking the pace car. Mind you, if you do so, and I'm not quite sure how much would take for the penalty to trigger, but this can actually hit you with the penalty hammer pretty hard. I've seen it in road racing at least, when starting races, that if you overtake the pace car too soon, you'll get hit with a black flag indeed. I think Kenzie very much knows what he's doing and's got it under control. So you would hope and believe. So lap 18 of 65 here at Pocono. We're 22, almost 23 minutes into affairs. And even though we've had a good deal of green running between laps, 6 and 13, 14, a little bit more now, I have to say that's still a slight feeling in me that we've hardly really gotten the racing properly underway yet.
Nah, it's been a bit difficult. I mean, we saw the top 5 break away in that green flag period that you were talking about, Hasse, and I thought at that point, you know what, if they can get into some kind of rhythm, we could really see a big gap as someone's diving into the pits there, I believe. We could really get a big gap forming between the top 5 and the rest of the field, and hopefully the rest of the field can maybe, you know, space themselves out just a touch close enough so they can obviously get back racing, but far enough apart so they can get into a rhythm, because that's realistically what everybody needs to do. We saw it last week at Texas. Everyone was a bit... there is a car in the background there without a front end. There is... obviously, everyone was a bit too gung-ho at the beginning. Then, obviously, halfway through the race, everybody started getting a bit more used to how the track was driving, how the cars were handling, and how everybody around them was going to be handling it as well. But, yeah, it's Brian Harris. I'm not really sure if he's just decided not to use his fast repair or if they've just not decided to put his front end back on. But he clearly doesn't need it because he's running in 15th.
Yeah, he's gained 10 positions. Maybe he's just trying to wait for a little bit. He might even be expecting to be caught up in more. But there's a good point to be made that this version of Pocono here in iRacing does have little grip. I think we've seen the drivers struggle with that before. Should be difficult even for the pros, and that's a point that I've at least made on several other, that has been road streams. It doesn't really, I'm sorry, it doesn't really mean that it doesn't apply to the oval side of things as well, because we've seen so many real life pro drivers struggle quite hard with getting to grips, and not only with iRacing but with sim racing in general. It seems like the sim experience has a lot to say in the end, and it does make sense. There is a lot of factors that don't really come into account in the world of sim racing compared to the world of real racing. And in turn, there's also a couple of things that don't come into account in the world of sim racing, just like the fear of dying when having a big crash, which you don't really get in the same way.
Well, I think that's quite important to distinguish, really, Hasse, because I'm a big advocate for that. That sim racing, it has got a slightly different skill set to real life racing. I'm quite quick in a real life race car. I'm not rapid, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to break any records. But I do feel like I can handle a real life race car, whereas in the sim world, I am awful. There's a reason why I'm commentating on this series and not being involved with it, because frankly, I find it very difficult to jump into a sim and get it hustling around the track like this or like any road series or anything like that. So it really is a testament to how these guys are hustling their NASCARs around a circuit like this and adapting to every single different circuit. So it is very impressive. It's great driving standards in the sim here at Simracersworld.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, it is, and it's a good point to made in general, because I think real life drivers often find themselves having to live up to a great deal of expectation if they're not previously experienced on the simulator in any way. That's going to be a hard one to live up to. Although we've also seen that when you get the mixed and combined talent of both sim, like heavy sim experience, and like mixed with a bunch of real world talent and real world speed, that can create some fast fast racers. Indeed, we've also seen that many people that come from Sims have indeed been able to translate that quite well into driving a real race car. Previous winner of the World's Fastest Gamer Series. That's of course, I'm forgetting his name. Baldwin, James Baldwin. James. He's been throwing a GT3 car around for the last, year or so, and it's actually proving to be quite fast. Anyway, we're back to Bugatti. It's Kenzie Newhoff and Sergio Hernandez getting the field back to green here at Pocono. And the tricky triangle is back racing terms here. And that's a brilliant launch for Newhoff. Gets away so well indeed. And that's going to take him clear of all the carnage in behind.
It is indeed, yeah. Hernandez is actually the one who's been caught out for the first time this evening a little bit. And Newhoff has actually gotten away. And to be fair, actually, Hernandez has just got that back through turn one with a really committed entry and exit. Look at how his car just stuck to the ground, and he's actually back within a tenth. They've got half a second now between them. Hernandez is actually maybe going for the race lead, but here's a 64 car of Mathieu Soufi. A good qualifying position by Mathieu, but he's not quite been able to replicate it. Paul Gosling as well on your screen now in the 88 Quantum Racing team, and Ian Roots, the boss of SRW, in 10th place. And this is a replay of the boss, I think, getting past Van den Berg, by the looks. Oh, there's a crash on the outside there. 32 and 65 involved with that, and 565 as well. And that is Lauren Klutz in the 32 car. The 565 cars leaving up the beak as well is involved. And I believe, let's have a look and see, the 65 car does get involved. He seems to have gotten away with it slightly, or is he just disconnected? I can't quite see him on the time. Jochen Lennart. Oh, back the Dynamixx boss, unfortunately, not enjoying his evening so far.
Not at all. Not at all, indeed. It's been a tough one for the old Dynamixx bots. Let's see, where is he? There's Jochen Lennart. I think he did not quite get away with that one. That car doesn't look clean at the head to me. And it was a hard snap, indeed. And I'm not actually quite sure what happened. I'll see if we can get a better look at the situation here. If we go here and then go to Lawrence Klutz, and then it is just him. Lawrence gets the fishtail, and the 565 machine of Cleveland up the beak is just collected. And you know what? No wonder that the 65 car, he does a Patrick Swayze move, does go directly through somehow, but it seems he has picked up damage as well in the end there. So a fair bit of drama here at Pocono, and let's hope that we get back to some good green stuff once the pace car peels off again.
Yeah, Thomas Smets has got that absolutely right in the comments. That snapped hard. It certainly snapped hard. We can see a few drivers actually jumping into the pits. Well, just the one here. It's Kenzie. No, he's racing. He's giving it all fake, the old switcheroo. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's cheeky, and I absolutely adore it.
That was very cheeky indeed. I like that as well. The good old back and forth, the switcheroo, as you said. And a number of drivers have actually, I don't know if they've fallen for it, if they needed this pit stop, but they can of course take it without losing their laps, so they'll be back at the end of it. And it does make sense that they don't go in on a yellow flag periods that's been brought out so close to the one we just had, where everyone did of course take pit stops. Here's Bart de Vos. He's gained 2 positions overall, but I think it's fair to say at this point of the race that nothing is over yet. Nothing is certain. We're a third of the way into the race, and we're just about a third of the way through as well on lap count. So that's going to be a close one between those two as well, decided by how clean the rest of the race really goes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about back to that conversation that we were just having, Hasse, about the sort of driver pro and sim racers, and the sort of how you said, if a driver can sort of have a perfect mix, great instinctive drivers can often jump into the sims, let's face it, and do quite well. I was just thinking of one notable instance of that is obviously Ash Sutton, who owns Pure Sims. He's just won the British Touring Car Championship yesterday, the championship that I'm very close to personally, and yeah, so he is extremely capable in a sim. If anybody's caught him on stream before, he's extremely capable in a sim. Obviously, he owns his own sim racing company, and obviously is one of the most talented drivers in the UK for the British Touring Car Championship. So yeah, it's definitely, there's a blend there, and the best drivers can reach it.
There is, and I think it also makes sense as to why it's hard sometimes for the pros to transition into the sims and not the other way around, maybe because there's just an element of information missing. The behind sensor, as you could call it. It's just a Coke, Eusebio. I wish it was a beer. It's not just in the spirit of NASCAR. It'd be a little bit better, but after all, I do have work tomorrow, so trying to stay on the right path, so to say. You could, of course, have a single beer without that being any kind of problem whatsoever. You could probably have 3 as well. But indeed, it is a Coca-Cola. Seems to me to have a perfect mix of sugar and caffeine that keeps you awake when having to stay awake. And it's not that I'm tired, but I just like to be on point when doing streams. Here's Greg Franks, the 99 machine in 6th place. Well, he makes me a slight bit of doubt as to whether that's actually 5th place. I think that is 5th place because he's on the inside of Frederik van Eekhoven.
Tell you what, with a plug like that, Hasse, we could get sponsored by Coke. That would, propel the NASCAR SRW league into the stratosphere, wouldn't it? I think that'd be quite useful as well for us as commentators to keep going. As you say, keep on point through the entire 2-hour stream. But the lights have gone out now by the looks of it on the pace car, so we will be getting racing once again. And let's hope, fingers crossed, touching wood, everything in between, that we are getting some green flag running, because that's obviously what we're here to see.
Green flag is what we want, and when do we want it? Right about now. It's back to boogity, and Kenzie Newhoff's going to be controlling it this time around. He gets a good launch on Sergio Hernandez, and yet again, I don't know how Kim Behate's got off. Oh, good run for Sergio as well, and that means they're going to be bunching up in behind on whoever got the slower run. And we're seeing big battles further down the field here as well. I'm trying to just scoop up the rest of the running order as well to give us a glance of the entirety of the cars. Often you'll find some of the best battling at the rears. They're sliding around yet again.
Yeah, we have plenty of drivers at the rear, actually, you expect to see towards the front, but here is towards the front. And Newhoff and Hernandez, yet again, showing that they're sort of one of the class of the field here as they re-enter the green flag running, keeping it absolutely pinned to the floor to make sure that they are trying to escape at the road as much as possible. But this time round, Behate and Van Eekhoven and De Vos are not letting them get away quite so easily. There's about a 4/10 or 3/10 gap between 2nd and 3rd, but Behate is trying their best to keep up with them.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, sorry, I had a little bit of a burp to suppress there. That's the natural cause when you crack a Coke, and I should have thought twice about that. Maybe that's not so great a commercial for Coca-Cola after all. Anyway, Bart de Vos has made great gains so far. Frederik van Eekhoven and Kim Behate likewise, especially Kim Behate. He's gained 6 places to sit 3rd in the 86 car. Impressive stuff indeed. And look at Sergio Hernandez is right on the tail of Kenzie Newhoff up ahead. And Sergio is taking no prisoners. He's wanting to put on the pressure all the way through this time. And they are, I can tell you, look at that. That's not completely straight through the corners. It's very much with a slight twist of sideways action whenever we see anyone going through here. And it seems to be tricky indeed. Here, Greg Franks in the 99 machine. He's got Sufi on his bumper. So 2 teammates aren't going to challenge each other too much, but they want to get the better of Bart de Vos.
Absolutely right. I don't think, obviously, when the 2 teammates are driving next to each other, the last thing you are expecting them is to challenge. But obviously, there's always a bit of trepidation that ends up one taking the other out. Almost Sebastian Vettel, Mark Webber, or Sebastian Vettel and I think I've forgotten who he took out recently, actually. It's gone from my mind. But obviously the last thing you want to do if you're following your teammate is get underneath them and turn them around. Here at the inside is Ryan Walker, though. He had an absolutely flying start to the race. He ended up being caught in a fair few battles. And now he's going up against Vandenberg, who's actually still up 13 positions from starting right at the back. But I fear that their tyres must be going off because I don't think I've seen him in the pits more than once. And that was right within the first caution period, which we had about 300 yards into the race.
Yeah, very much so. And also there's a small gap developing here from Sergio Hernandez down to Kimby Hayes, where I think just about touched the wall. And that was indeed Charles Leclerc at Ferrari. It was at the Brazilian Grand Prix last year. And that was an absolute shocker of a season for Sepp Vettel. It's only becoming worse. Oh, that was so close there for Van they're just sneaking up the inside of Kimby Hayes. And I think that's a Brown moment if ever, because they had just that slight bit of contact that could very well have gone wrong there. Behave isn't having any of it. He's wanting to fight it though. And he is just a tad behind, and he's on the outside. It's going to be a very tough place to be indeed. Oh, Roger Morton, I'm afraid has had a problem. We're going to see what happened here to the Britain 92 car. As he hits the outside wall, collects that quite hard, manages actually to keep it running, but it will have cost him damage, but he does well to keep us under green flag conditions. Deep back to live pictures with the top runners here yet again, as Kimby Hayes is still trying to fight out Bart de Vos there on the inside. They're right on the tail of Frederik van Eekhoven, trying to take care and trying to take advantage as well of the slipstream there with the two Simracersworld esports machines in behind. Now yet again, Hernandez has taken Newhoff for first place. Up ahead, Newhoff is currently very much on the tail still, and they'll be battling away when Van Eekhoven now is trying to join up, and it seems like someone's really in a rush to try and catch the leaders here.
Yeah, well, you've got to, really, and I think Hernandez and Newhoff are going to have to get their heads down. I know they've already made a cap of about 0.8 of a second, but if they were smart and realised that there's still, half the race to go, they would actually realise, maybe getting a second gap. Although, as I said before, that can just, I said last week, in fact, that can just disappear in an instant, because as soon as you get a caution period, everybody's backed up, everybody's within a tenth of each other again, and all of a sudden, all that hard work in trying to get you two away is just absolutely dissipated. So probably, to be fair, I'm rethinking my words, track position is probably more important than getting away from anybody.
Yeah, and it also seems that Frederik van Eekhoven has been relatively quickly able to catch up, and now he's up the inside of Sergio Hernandez. And is Sergio just gonna arm himself with a good deal of patience here and try to make his usual late charge, as we're very close to the halfway marker here in the race, both in terms of laps and minutes yet again. And if we stay green, those two are going to follow one another for a bit of time here. We've had Ryan Walker off the track for quite a bit of while. That's the very same incident. Oh, that Flemish Sim Sports car just about. That is a huge shunt also to the inside wall. It's going to be bad damage for Ryan Walker. It has not brought out the yellow flag. It's a one-car incident. He's going to keep it on the inside of the track there, I think, and just sneak on back to the pit. He knows that's going to be incredibly expensive for him.
Yeah, one of the advantages of sim racing over real life racing, you don't have to see the bill at the end of it. If you think buying a car for £14 or £11 or something is expensive on iRacing, I'll try buying a car and writing it off in the next race in real life. That's a whole lot worse, I'm sure anybody can agree. But you're right here, Hernandez has actually gone past the third place car of Van Eekhoven. And it's all to play for now, realistically, with these three drivers. And Bart de Vos isn't that far away either. But as the tyres start going off, there's less commitment through the corners. And you can see Hernandez, I think his back end's just slightly stepping around a touch there. Maybe it's just the angle that we're watching it from. But either way, it's going to be very close between these drivers now. And just like I said before, if we end up getting... I tell you what, look at the gap between Bart de Vos and Mathieu Soufi. That's a big gap. And up the inside goes Bart de Vos, in fact. So... even though Frederik van Eekhoven, he actually managed to get up to second place, he's actually doing well if he keeps fourth at the moment, because he's just about to drop a long way back. And Mathieu Soufi can smell blood here.
Yes, he can. He'll just be fighting to see if he can get up and get mixed in with the battle for the very lead positions. John Tustin, Kimby Hayes, and Greg Frank 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then the SRW boss in the 46 car, that's of course Ian Roots. He's 9th at the moment. That's Paul Gosling also for Quantum rounding off the top 10, and then round just on the other side, the very edge of the top 10 is Hendrik de Graaf, Sven Calvert, and even Baumans.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the comments as well. Apparently, it's about 4,000 for a set of tyres last time we looked. I can't believe it's that much in a NASCAR, but it's well, it must be. Your information's better than mine, Maldonado Jr. So I'm sure you're correct. I mean, I think on the race series that I used to race in, I think it was about 1,200 for a set of tyres. £1,200 tyres, about 1,200. Not sure how that equates to wherever you are in the world, but yeah, it's certainly not cheap real life motorsport. At least sim races, we can have this kind of action for a fraction of the price. Put it that way. Here's Kim Behate. Not really got much of a gap ahead. Oh, 3 wide here, Hasse. And this is Sven Galbert, Baumans, and I think De Graaf.
Very much so. And De Graaf is left out of it, and it's going to be leaving him 2. And it's the latter of them mentioned that's going to be the first one out. That's even Baumans up into 11th place, the privateer, but he's facing heavy pressure from behind here. But the Foss has gotten up into 2nd place as well with a nice move up the inside there of the 62 car. Continue up, and look at that! Hernandez up to a 2nd now, and they're really battling in behind for secondary positions. If this stay green, oh, they're going to have a problem keeping up with the Spaniard in the lead now, as he's shown dominant form for the last 2 weeks. He's really mastering car and track. And the ability to just let the car slip and slide easily. And sometimes I just don't get how people do that. How do they not wear the tires and still go just as fast as everyone else? And I know the answer. I know that they're putting in less steering and they're being more gentle on throttle and braking and whatever. But it's just so impressive to see when it's really succeeding for people to be smoother and faster at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, a great example of that is obviously Lewis Hamilton's 7th title win last weekend, and whether you're a fan of him or not, the fact that he got those inters from, I think, lap 10 to the end of the race on what was pretty much at the end a dry track in Turkey. If anybody wants to see good time management, that's the race to watch. But this is another good one, as you were saying, Hasse. Sergio Hernandez absolutely flying away from it at the moment. I believe I'm having a look at their top speed achieved so far in this race. Sergio Hernandez actually is about 8 miles an hour down on the likes of Newhoff and Van Ekhoven and Bart de Vos. So although he hasn't had the overall top speed, he has actually managed to pull away somehow. So it shows that, you know, it's just not going flat out and turning left in this NASCAR race.
I don't know, this is anything but flat. You know, some of the NASCAR tracks are so that you just basically, I'm just saying basically because I know this is not how it is in the Cup cars necessarily, but in the street stocks, that's all I have. Oh, I'm going to stop talking about street stocks and get back to the racing, because yet again we got 3 wide here, almost 4 wide, and I think the 83 car got a little bit of a bad launch there, but that's going to happen through the 73 car of Calvert's as well. And that is, of course, Tim Perry there up into now 11th place. That's a hot battle going on here. And 2 of the... Oh, no, we're going to have another... Are we? Oh, how did they survive that? Oh, my word.
I think the prayer you said at the beginning has been answered there, Hasse. They've used up all the good wishes because somehow everybody just stayed on the circuit. And I'm still not 100% sure how, even after watching it back.
That was a miracle of a moment indeed. Usually when we see that happens, it gets followed up by a big kerfuffle indeed. This time around, not so much, and we're still racing here. We're at lap 37. There's a big old battle here, but it's all for 2nd place at the moment. As Frederik van Ekhoven, it's Kenzie Newhoff, of course, and Bart de Vos that is all going at it here, and they might just be thinking about trying to help each other one along. Maybe bump drafting a little bit down the straights in order to gain that extra speed to try and catch up to a car that at the moment it's slipping ahead at the front of the field. It's now almost 2 seconds, or 1.5 seconds it is, from Hernandez down to Frederik van Ekhoven, who's now in 2nd. Here further down, look at that, Matthew Sufi is now getting challenged by John Tusting for 5th place, and so I think we can make out that Sufi is really beginning to struggle on his tires. We're seeing a field further spread. And I think most things we've seen so far, and that really goes to underline the fact that this is sort of an in-between, you could say, between an oval and a road track in terms of how you have to approach it, but doesn't make it any easier, I suppose. Rather the opposite, it seems.
Yeah, all these drivers, as we know, are from different series that SRW have been putting on, whether it's Belcar, whether it's the GT Pro, the GT Evo, various other, obviously, series that SRW has as well, but they're not necessarily NASCAR connoisseurs, but that doesn't mean that they're not learning the trade, they're not loving their time out on circuit as well. Obviously, a few of them may have done a bit of NASCAR, a bit of oval circuit before, but realistically, there's a lot of road races on this circuit right now, and they'll be enjoying this sort of track, I imagine. You know, such wood we haven't had. I'm not going to say it, actually. I'm not going to say it, as it's not worth it, but we've had good driving, let's say, up until this point now, for quite some time.
We very much had, and the spread of the field at the moment is a very good reminder of just that. John Tusting is going to be looking up the inside of Matti Sufi, but for now, just holding his position, maybe realizing that he's not going to be able to do much faster times ahead of Sufi than Sufi is doing at the moment ahead of him, and as such, he'd be in a better position just trying to save a bit of fuel and maybe take the positions here in the pit stop. Newhoff has lost a bit of time to his teammate Fredrik van Eekhoven, which seems to be he seems to be going for... Oh, that's a bit of blinking again as Kenzie comes back. But Fredrik van Eekhoven seems to be the hair of the team down under boys at the moment. And he's closed the gap up to Sergio Hernandez, down to 0.8 of a second. And Hernandez with the charge before seems to be getting caught back up at the moment. And I think Van Eekhoven is very much within the slipstream again. And from there on, it's a lot easier to get the last bit of work done.
Yeah, Fredrik... he actually qualified quite far down, to be honest. I think he qualified in 8th place. I don't know whether he just didn't hook the lap together, or he's just absolutely found the rhythm in the actual race, and maybe he didn't do quite as much practice as he wanted to. But he's currently, as you said before, the leading team down under car. And Kenzie, I'm sure they'll just be biding his time, but realistically, Bart DeVos and Kenzie are actually having their own little battle here, because they are quite far down the road from the drivers ahead of them, and also the drivers behind them, to be fair, Matteo Sufi and John Tusting, Kimber Haight and Paul Gosling are the cars that you can see in your picture now going 2 by 2. And while we say hurrah, hurrah, the 999 car of John Tusting just allows the drivers ahead to get going. And by the looks of it, that's the 555 car actually is not involved. Ryan Walker is actually a back marker, so keep an eye out for 555 in case he makes a mistake.
Yeah, indeed. And Ryan Walker, who's just on the inside of a car that sneaks them through there. Tusting has a little bit of a touch at the outside wall. He loses a lot of time indeed, and loses the position as well. Here's Kimber Haight in behind the 268 car of Ivan Bauman's is a long way down, but it's going very quickly indeed at the moment. And we're seeing drivers having to pit under green flag conditions. This is costing them great amounts of time. So all the top runners will just be hoping that they can keep it running. Here's leaving up the big. I think he is going to be on the lead lap still. No, he's certainly not. That's my mistake. Here are the top runners. As you can see, they're very much in the thick of the traffic, and this is becoming more like a multi-class race at the moment. And we're seeing drivers who just come from the pit. They're having to heat up their tires. I think that was Frank Calvert getting in the mix and trying to get himself out of the way here as Bart DeVos is trying to defend from Kenzie Newhoff. And we're not with much success there as Brian Harris, now with a new nose to his car and fresh tires. And look at the difference. Just how Brian Harris can just hold his car in. The other cars, worn tires, they just wash out wide and away, and it really seems to hurt the pace. So there you get it, a very good example of just how big the difference between fresh and worn tires just is.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, the lead pack, they're going to really have to make a big decision sooner rather than later as to do they go, oh, there's a spin there on leaving up the beacon. Could that cause a safe pace car period? I'm not sure. I don't know what on earth had happened to him there, to be fair, but he seems to have got going again. Whatever happened looked almost like a bit of a hardware malfunction. No real reason why he should have span in that position, but as he goes very sideways, actually he just gets completely loose and just ends up sliding all over the place. He does very well not to hit anything a lot harder, to be fair. Good control in the end by Up the Beak.
Yeah, but he gets sideways onto the track, and I'm just thinking, is that the reason they pulled out the yellow flag? Because we are having another caution period after this incident. So this is going to be one of the milder incidents that we've seen to cause cautions so far. We're 21 laps from the end of the race so far. We're 51 minutes in. So if it keeps on going like this, we'll be at a nice pace for making the lap counter at the end. 65 laps. Of course, would be nice to see that. We are expecting indeed to see a lot of cars pit in as soon as we had the pit lane open up. And then do, of course, go and check out our sponsor, Dynamixx Racing Simulators, and all the wonderful stuff they got in store, while we have this break period of caution anyways.
Yeah, a lot of people who just jumped into the pits, although they showed good pace for that half a lap that they took advantage of it, they'll be cursing it now, because obviously jumping back into a caution period means that all the leaders are able to... Actually, has Sergio Hernandez stayed out there, and Van Ekhoven as well? Have they stayed out, or have I just missed something there, Hasse?
No, I don't think they've opened up for the pit stuff just yet, so we still have everyone from the front of the field pretty much collective here. Yes, there is a link indeed, Eusebio. It's in the description, but I can fix it for you as well in chat if you give me a short bit of a moment. But I'll be right there, and I do mean a very short bit of a moment, because I was just too slow to just put it on. There we are. I wanted to say just a bit of a moment, because there we are. I was just, my copy pasting action there was a bit too sloppy. I apologize.
And while we're looking at that, everybody's jumped into the pits, haven't they?
Yes, indeed, and that was as expected, because I think perfectly timed for everyone who were on worn tires here to get that pit stop out of the way. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can do 20 laps on both fuel and tires. My initial thought would probably be a no, but you know what? They might just. So Hernandez there, that's actually a bit of a surprise. You see, he took considerably less fuel than the cars around. Van Ekhoven out very quickly as well. Then Behave third. Newhoff is fourth, right around a pot the fuss. They got out close to one another. There's Anton Dupin, Jen Tusting as well. And Paul Gosling, the two Quantum cars, right after Dupin. And then Tim Perry in 10th place out of the pits in the 83 machine. And as we said earlier, even him, he was involved in an early accident. He can easily come back, and look at him now.
Yeah, he's 7 places, lost on where he qualified, but considering where he was at the beginning, well, about 3 laps in, shall we say, he'll be very, very pleased with that on the Boost Ted Motorsport car. Definitely looking forward to a strong run-in, and we are into the last third now. 45 laps done. 65 laps in total that we're hoping to complete. Obviously 55 minutes nearly on the board out of 90. Realistically, like you said, Hasse, if we carry on green running after this for a substantial amount of time, we will have 53 second laps roughly, maybe stretching to 55 second. But regardless, 20 laps, slightly less than 20 minutes. And obviously that is going to be pretty much a sprint race, really. Everyone's on clean tyres. Everyone's got nice full bellies in their car, shall we say? The petrol or whatever they're using being put in, the gasoline, and yeah, we should have a pretty much a sprint race here to the end.
Yeah, indeed. Just surprised to see what happened to Brian Harris here, or what exactly is going on here. Took a bit of a dive to the grassy infield. Was maybe expecting to get the lucky dog. I think he might actually have gotten the lucky dog, because if we go to Brian Harris, I'm not even sure now. That was just a wave through or what? Because we now see Hernandez with no cars in front of him, ready for the restart, and we also see the safety car with no lights on.
We do indeed. I just want to say a thank you in the chat as well. Hasse, they're making us blush in the chat over here. But big thanks for you guys for tuning in and also getting involved potentially. By all means, if you want to get involved, just hit up SRW and I'm sure there'll be space for you in some kind of series. As there is for anybody out there who's watching as well. Any of the services you're looking at, SRW have a whole host of series, and they're forever being renewed as well. If you sort of joined in and you realise you want to race halfway through a season, I'm sure you can do a couple of guest rounds, or indeed wait until the next season comes along, because well, Hasse, they're constantly being put up, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so. And there's all sorts of stuff happening, from MX5 to Formula 3 cars, GTs to NASCAR, pretty much anything you like. With the TCR series just having gotten up and running as well. GT3s on Sundays, whatnot, etc. Thank you so much for all the nice comments, lads. We really do appreciate it, as Jack said before. It warms the hearts. And what will warm the hearts as well is that we got boogity and back to green flag here at Pocono. Lap 46 of 65, that's going to make 20 to go. Will they make it 20 for green? Well, it's a... Oh, look at that! Bump drafting on the start from Fanac over to Newcomb, but they're going to take advantage. There's a poor start as well for Hernandez. That is some of the more intelligent stuff I've seen this season, and actually both getting past. Incredible stuff there. Teamwork, like, that's on another level there from the Down Under boys.
Yeah, absolutely perfection on the restart.
Oh,
big
got the yellow flag out again.
Oliphant, I think, having a bit of an off, and quite a few of the Luke Hobson involved. The 88 car here is Paul Gosling. The 284 car is Van Uytven, as I was saying before. Plenty of drivers getting absolutely smeared left, right, and centre. And is it just a bit of a washing wide? It is a contact with the 83 car.
The 80 gets launched.
Trying to have a look at who is the 83 car. Oh, the 284 car of Van Uytven is on its roof, and now it is back in the pits, thanks to the fact that it's basically half a car. But yeah, really unfortunate, and that's definitely going to be back under a caution period. Let's have a look yet again. Has to talk us through it.
Yeah, so up ahead you see the crash happening, and Van Uytven hoping to be able to get around on the outside, and it just didn't really happen for him. And he ended up on his roof. Poor situation for Bram indeed. And we've got ourselves another caution period. And,
we do indeed. And another opportunity for our friends in the chat to go and check out Dynamixx. Obviously, I know we're spamming it quite a lot, but to be honest, it's one of those things you might as well go and do while the caution period's on. And obviously they're kind enough to support the series, so why not give them another plug?
Yeah, indeed. And just before we get too critical of the drivers, it is an awful little space to have an awful lot of cars, and especially when we can get down to the lower ends of the field, the midfield. The levels of traffic is just very, very intense indeed, and it's a question of just trying to survive basically. And what you got to remember with sim racing is that it's not everyone being able to have a 90-degree field of view or a set of VR goggles or a huge triple setup. I know some of these drivers for sure will have that kind, but I'm not expecting everyone to have it. And if you don't, it can be so damn hard to keep that spatial awareness around you. And for sure, that's something that just makes it really difficult to sometimes have that full overview you need of just what's going on around you. And it's also a thing. I actually wondered, Jack, because you said earlier that you have a real life racing experience. So I'd very much like to know what kind of cars you've been driving.
Yeah, so I drove in, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them overseas, but the Gt4s.
Yes.
They are in LMPs and GT4s and everything like that. But I raced in a Ginetta G40, which looks like a little MX5 or Audi TT style thing for a fair few years. Ended up second in the championship in that one. And then I jumped up to the bigger boys, the Gt4 Super Cup it's called over here, which support the British Touring Car Championship. And that's basically like the GT4 spec Ginetta that would race in any kind of GT4 race, basically. So yeah, it's really cool. If anybody's ever been on a Set Corsa Competizione and you have the GT4 package, there's my car on there pretty much, the Ginetta, which is pretty cool. And I haven't done it for the last year, but you know, that's why I've sort of tried to get into sim racing. That's why I realised I'm terrible, and that's why I started. That's why I started commentating.
Oh, as things can get you well. I have a bit of go-karting experience, but it lays many, many years back by now. And it's, when I say a bit, I mean I've been to the track on a few occasions for half an hour, you know, rental cars. But 85 kilometer an hour rental cars, I'll take that as proper experience. We have a really, really nice go-kart track in Roskilde, close to Copenhagen, which is where both Jan and Kevin Magnussen actually got the very early starts to their driving careers.
Well, I mean, obviously, say the GT4 and the G40 and everything that I've raced, the G40 especially, and the Gt4 Super Cup, I would say, actually, is a lot easier to drive than the 85 mile an hour go-karts that you've been talking about. I have to say, they're comfier, put it that way. They may be a lot quicker, but actually, with all the aero and everything, they're quite a bit easier. Go-kartings are especially the sort of arrive and drive style, jump in, really quick ones. They're called Club 100 here. They're really, really hard to handle. So, if you can drive them, you can pretty much drive anything.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I have a bit of racing experience myself. It's just not been racing cars. It's been racing bicycles. So, for all my love of bike racing, I've been doing it myself for a few years as well. And I've picked up a podium or two. I've won a little time trial, and it's cycling is very much the same, and yet it's very much different indeed. It's actually much more like oval racing than like road racing, because of the entire thing of positioning and drafting and such has such a huge effect in any cycling race, except for when it's just uphill indeed. But
I would say it's quite a lot harder than motorsport, to be honest. I don't think I could do 5 minutes on a bike, let alone an entire race.
Actually, cycling seems to be one of the more popular ways of exercising for many race drivers, actually, because you get such a strong cardio output out of it. And it's also a good way to grow your leg muscles. But now, we're back to green, and it's boogity, boogity, boogity for the last, 14 laps indeed. 15, I think, to be precise. We've got 27 minutes to get it covered, and yet again Team Down Under is very much at the head of affairs.
We're going with yellow already because there's a car in the background.
No! That's the 7 car. Oh my word already, that's Kurt van Hoenacker again.
Well, I think that beats the record for our quickest caution period after a green flag.
No! The unlucky soul that is Brian Harris, and he's been so swift on multiple occasions as well. He's been quick, and I've just wanted to see him do well. But unlucky, he gets caught up, and that indeed breaks any sort of time limit. What was that, 2, 3, 4 seconds or something? That's I think they're going to have a tough time beating that one.
Well, I don't think they'd even crossed the line by the time they actually made contact. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's just like getting off the start line, deciding to turn straight left off a standing start, not even getting across the start finish. But Van Ekhoven, I'm not sure if he's even realised it's a yellow flag period, because he's going flat out and he's got a 2.2 second gap, which is about to disappear in front of his eyes as he catches the pace car up for the second time, probably wondering what on earth has happened to cause a yellow flag period so quickly. I thought it was a glitch, to be fair, and I imagine a lot of these drivers probably did as well.
Just having to wonder if they're trying to push this a little bit to see if they can build up a little bit of heat in the brakes and tires, maybe. That could be an explanation. Because certainly they need to know that they have plenty of fuel in order to do this. If you was in any kind of doubt about that, I think you'd be going easy on it while trying to catch the safety car. But the question is, I'm not seeing, where is the safety car even? That's a very good question. I'm just trying to look around the field. Maybe we could get the blimp out in our search for the safety car, the pace car as it's called, rightfully. Because here's Van Ekhoven. There it is, isn't it? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. There it is, the pace car. So.
I hate your brakes, Van Ekhoven. That was going to be almost very awkward. And the 60Q car of Newolf as well, almost getting a bit too far up the straight there, and we're back under yellow flag conditions. So if you no, I'm not going to plug it again. I think that's far too many times in the past 5 minutes.
But indeed, let's just to continue off where we got back to green last time. Just mention one thing that cycling and bike racing certainly has in common with motor racing. It's that sensor you gotta have in your thereabouts. That really has to be in tune, and it's the very same thing when you're on a bicycle, because just that sense of feeling the grip. I think someone who's never really, felt the edge of grip disappear underneath you, and known how that feels as well. Of course, on a bicycle, that's rather painful, to be honest. Not that I don't think it can be painful in a car if you're going plus 100 miles an hour and you have a spin and hit a wall hard. But I can tell you from experience that hitting the tarmac at, 35 miles an hour, that's certainly gonna cause a bit of pain too. So it's not anything I could advise anyone to try out. But it does require the same kind of sensory apparatus, you might say, in lack of better terms.
I think you're right there, to be fair. It's a thing with sim racing that I find really difficult. It's okay, maybe my sensor is extra sensitive, but it's okay when you're actually driving a real life car, because when you can feel the car moving around, basically under your bum or through the seat and stuff like that, and it's always pivoting from that position, basically from the middle of the car, and you can feel when the grip's about to go. In a sim, you don't get that because you're not moving; it's all through the wheel, and unless you have a half decent wheel with force feedback and everything like that, it's a bit trickier. We are going green after this lap, so we'll try and wrap up the conversation relatively quickly, but we've got about 2 minutes. That is one of the reasons why I think that I struggle with sim racing, because as you're right, with cycling or any kind of sort of where you've got a tyre or some kind of grip associated with the machine that you're operating, simulators, it just struggles with that sort of letting that sort of come through the wheel. It's a bit of a struggle, which is why certain people can't get on with that, I don't think.
But it does make sense, because your whole body get used to the fact that that you have that, like, the sets of feelings that go into the sets of sensories that go into giving you your kind of directions as to what to do, and if you just take one of those out of the equation, all of a sudden it's going to be really difficult. Hey, Wake, good to have you along. Same goes to Thomas, Eusebio. Of course, Jacko, you're in there as well, you cheeky bugger.
Well, I might as well have a chat to them. If having to chat with you all night long, Hasse, I might as well get them involved as well.
Yeah, of course, and if it was just me, you'd get crazy in them as well, with the amount of...
I have to do it enough with Ed May, so I might as well talk to these guys while I have the opportunity.
Anyways, I'll leave you to it, Jacko, as we're about to go green for what we hope to be the final time for just over 10 laps of racing that remain here at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle.
Yeah, indeed. Frederik van Ekhoven and Kenzie Newwolf has absolutely expertly nailed the last 2 restarts. That really hasn't helped them too much, though, because they haven't been able to get away. Sergio Hernandez in 3rd place, but they've got a front row lockout at the moment, and they've absolutely gunned it at the same time. They're basically neck and neck. Brilliant from the 477 car and the 62 with the team down unders. And that means Sergio Hernandez has just been dropped just a touch, and he's going to have to really work hard if he's going to try and catch up to the race lead again. We've seen him do it before, but the 62 car of Kenzie Newwolf has closed that door. No thank you, not getting in this house, because this is the team down under territory now, as the 19 car Sergio Hernandez and the 64 of Matthew Sufi is actually in 4th place now. So we've lost 1 or 2 of the drivers that were out there. Bart de Vos actually is the driver I was looking for. He's all the way down in 7th place. This is Robert Lundergan, who has had an up and down sort of race so far, it's safe to say, in the Boost Ted car. Very distinctive livery, but he's being overtaken by Gregory Vance now in the Simracersworld number 99 car in 12th place.
Yeah, indeed. It's still Van Ekhoven leading Newhoff and Hernandez. And I think... You know what? I think Sergio Hernandez might be getting blocked off by Kenzie Newhoff while Frederik van Ekhoven is trying to run away with it here in such a short amount of time to get it done. Sergio Hernandez is going to be in a stressful situation here because it's going to be done very, very quickly indeed. Just around 9 minutes left of green flag running, if that seems to last. And you know what? I don't know why I keep on saying anything like that, because Ryan D. Walker has been involved in something. I'm afraid Ivo Baumans is in there as well. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Ryan Walker, and he just goes into the side of the 268 car. I'm not entirely sure who that is. That's Ivan Baumans, as you were saying before. Actually, you did call that one out. But yeah, I had to see that one again. I didn't quite see whether Baumans moved slightly towards the inside of the circuit, or whether Walker was the driver who just got too far alongside. Oh, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there, I'm afraid. He's probably... Bauman's probably going to be sacking his spotter in the morning because he won't be too pleased about that. He may well have tried to move over to the left and ended up finding the 555 car, who has been involved in pretty much everything we've shone a light on today so far, Ryan Walker. I think he's ended up just going straight into the pit. Interesting to see if he even bothers coming out.
Yeah, that's true indeed. And you know what, Adam? You are absolutely right. We do need a big yellow flag that I can pop in on the overlay and just tell everyone what's going on. Of course, we do have a little bit of a yellows around the top of the timing tower there, but that's surely not enough. So, you know what? That's a good idea. We'll see to it. Anyway, it's interesting to see that... oh, that's, of course, the cars with damage pitting in. I was just thinking that it wouldn't really make sense for any of the top runners to be pitting in now.
Well, we were close to being in the same situation as we were last week, where the tyres will be running out, the fuel would have been running out, but thanks to the fact that we've had yet another pace car, caution period, we should say. I mean, this is NASCAR at the end of the day, isn't it? But I think this will take us up to about 60 laps, maybe 59 laps, so it'll be a 5 to 6 lap shootout. But last time we said that, we had a caution period, and then we had another caution period. And then we had another caution period, and now we're on this caution period. So let's just have fingers crossed. Everybody touch some wood around you, wherever it is. Even if you have to go outside, go touch some wood, because we want a straight race for the end here.
We want to go all the way to the end here, and I'm just thinking if we could indeed end up in a situation here where we would actually cross the line under yellows, which I know is a thing. It could happen. Big flashing yellow indicator. Yeah. We need it like...
I'm hoping for a gif of you, Hasse, just waving a yellow flag every time we go to a caution period. That just appears on the screen. That's what I want out of this.
That would be great indeed. You know what? I don't have a yellow flag. I don't own one. If someone I know maybe owns a yellow flag, I'll certainly see to it. But who has bets on overtime? It's a shame. We should actually do a bit of bets, or maybe a sort of driver of the day vote in the discount would be, or the discount in the Discord. God damn it! I don't know why I wanted to say it. NASCAR overtime. I don't think so, Sergio, because I think I would have heard about it if that was the case. I have read our official documents because I wanted to be professional as best as I could. So my answer would be no.
I don't think we are having an overtime necessarily, because obviously we're trying to fit this broadcast down to 2 hours, aren't we, Hasse? So,
yeah, very much
that's
so.
why
that
we
makes
have
perfect sense that we don't have an overtime.
Yeah, that's why we have a 1 hour 30-minute time limit. So obviously we're trying to fit 65 laps in. If we were under caution for the next, I don't know, 9 laps, we might be absolutely struggling. We're hoping that we're going to fly through the last couple of laps, so which means we won't hit the 1 hour 30. But basically, whatever result we would have as we cross the line after 1 hour and 30, that'll be the result, whether it's under the pace car or not. So that's how we roll here at Simracersworld. Obviously, we think it's a good, efficient way of doing it. These drivers don't want to be sat here all night just under caution period. So with any luck, we'll have some flying laps to finish off the evening. What has been a relatively good evening's racing, to be fair. Obviously, it's been a bit stop-start here and there, but we have had some very interesting. Obviously, the down undercards in front, they did some absolutely stunning teamwork. Van Ekhoven as well, coming up for towards the back of the top 10 to, at the moment, take the race lead. Hernandez finding it slightly harder thanks to the fact that the team down undercars are working together now, and that's exactly what you've got to do, really, even if it is bump drafting off the restart.
Very much so. It was a perfect display of that before. It's going to be a few laps to go here.
Ryan Walker's come on the chat there, Hasse. He pulled across me, apparently, is this place. So, yeah, that's Ryan Walker's perspective from it.
It was very difficult to see from our perspective on the zoom-in camera angle and from an angle here. Anyway, we are going to go green for the final, 6, 7 laps here at Pocono. And it's biggity, boogity, boogity. And it's Frederick van Eekhoven yet again for Team Down Under, leading Kenzie Newhoff and Sergio Hernandez, trying all his best to squeeze his machine in between the two Toyotas in front. It's Ford third, and then it's Matthew Sufi, I think, in the Toyota. Indeed, no, it's a Ford as well for the Simracersworld esports team, and then the Toyota, of course, of Flemish Sim Sports. Not that it matters too much. And look at Matt de Vos, he's challenging down against Anton Dupin. The two Belgians are really getting hot for it. Sven Kalbert in a very good position there, 6th in the 73 machine as they almost made contact back then. Remember, the tires are getting very worn now, Jack, and it's an absolute show here for the last 5 laps of racing.
Yeah, we're hoping that the tyres just about hold on, and more to the fact that they're hoping that these drivers hold on as Oliphant actually jumped into the pits and come back out. Not too sure why he did that. Maybe he just wanted to get some new tyres on the car. He probably should have done that 1 or 2 laps earlier while we're under caution period. But he's come back out now, and I'm sure he'll be setting some quicker laps than the drivers around him if he can catch up. But up the inside here goes Sergio Hernandez on Kenzie Newhoff. Not able to get Frederick van Eekhoven just yet, but he's in a position where he potentially could attack for the final couple of corners and the final couple of laps here at Pocono. And I believe this could be going for, if it's another victory for Sergio Hernandez, it'd be absolutely stunning. But he has got into the race lead. They're going to try and make it 3 wide.
That's going to be close to it here, as I think that's Newhoff goes for the lead there. He's got the inside. There's turn 3. I think they're very much side by side. That's brave stuff there on the outside from Hernandez, and they're going to touch. That's very close indeed. And I think Hernandez is just trying to hold on as best as he can. He's still in front, but he's got laps to go. And they got 2 cars, so there comes Newhoff with a bit of a bump draft, and that might just make the difference. And I think, and that's of course, that's Van Eekhoven, I'm sorry, with the bump draft to Newhoff, but that doesn't matter too much in the end, because Newhoff leads. Hernandez is very wide there, almost swings back into him. And look at Matthew Sufi, who's up there as well now. Kim Behayden behind, he will be able to get up there as well. Let's go on board with Matthew Sufi here in the Simracersworld esports car. Here is 4th place, the 64 machine. That is so close yet again. Too close to comfort that call at this point of the race. It's incredible to see inches between the cars as they're going at it here. A very good position now for Kenzie Newhoff.
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to see from the final couple of laps here at this round 3 of the SRW NASCAR Dynamixx Series. It's going to be right down to the wire by the looks of it. And Hernandez, even if he picks up yet another podium, it'll still be a stunning result. But the Team Down Under cars have really come together at the right time to maybe make sure that they can secure at least one of them on the top spot of the podium. Obviously, they'd like the 2 top spots of the podium, 1st and 2nd. But if they can just get the 1, then that'll be taking points away from Hernandez, which is very, very crucial because he seems to be the man to beat.
Yeah, indeed, I think someone just made a slight touch to the wall there as well. That sounds of that's coming out of the tunnel turn, and I think they both might have made that slight nudge on the outside. Very good. Very good correction there at the last moment, as we saw a close call for Hernandez there on the lap before. 3 laps to go now, and the gap is half a second. Van Eekhoven's trying to get around the outside. He touches the wall there, and that might just be a heartbreak for him, but I think he manages to keep it under control. But it could just open the door for Matthew Sufi in the 64 car, I'm sorry. Getting a little confused there for a second. But the 477 car of Van Eekhoven now up the inside of Sergio Hernandez, and that's going to be a tough one to defend. Hernandez just too far back on him to try to cut back. Almost comes down on Sufi there. Sufi sees the danger. He's able to squeeze down, and he might have just gone for 2nd place. Here is he trying to throw it to the inside. Just gets cut off by Van Eekhoven. This is brilliant racing indeed. And Sergio Hernandez has fallen down the order. He's down into 4th place. Now we're going to go on board with our double race winner for the opening 2 rounds. And it's looking increasingly difficult for him to take the win here. There's 2 laps of racing left here at Pocono. And this is very, very close. He's got Matthew Sufi right there on his outside. He's actually ahead, Sufi, but Sufi's trying to squeeze it through. And that's brave yet again, because you risk just being punted up towards the wall. This is excellent stuff.
64 laps, about half a dozen caution periods, and it all comes down to this. Bart DeVos trying to make a move now on the penultimate lap of the race against Sven Kalpert, and he gets up the inside now to take the top 5 spot. But I tell you what, Kalpert's not having any to do with that, and here is Kenzie Nieuwhof, who's got the best seat in the house at the moment. He's got his teammate in between, his main rival, Van Ekhoven, and Sufi and Hernandez. So Nieuwhof, he knows that as long as he doesn't make any kind of silly mistakes, he's potentially got this in the bag, and it's all getting a bit hectic at the back, and we're on to the white flag lap, final lap of the race. Hasse, it's been an absolute spectacle, although it's maybe only been really 6 laps to what we expected to be 60, but it's really certainly been a fast and frantic final couple of laps.
Very much so, and Sergio Hernandez in the 19 machine might be getting a run, but I think he's too far back, because it's 6/10 from Nieuwhof to Van Ekhoven, and it's another half a second down to Matthew Sufi, who's still hanging on. They got 2 turns left. This is the tunnel turn, and are they gonna get through here? There's only gonna be one turn. Oh, that's Sufi touching the wall! But I think actually Hernandez got just as held up by the situation. He hasn't lost any time. They've both lost bucket loads of time to the leader. Final corner for Kenzie Nieuwhof to break the streak for Lucky Dog Racing as he had a bit of a drift there. He crosses the checkered flag to take the win, the 62 car. Then Team Down Under makes it a 1-2 and finally gets there on the deserved top step. They've been up there so far, so close. And finally getting up there. Indeed, a very good race, Jack. You said it before. It's been excellent. And once again, the Dynamixx SRW NASCAR Winter Series providing us with all the action.
Absolutely, and I think it was a real testament to the Team Down Under boys getting that 1-2. They're rubbing there and making sure they're giving each other a high five, shall we say, even if it is just a virtual one. But they absolutely ran it to perfection when they did their restart. A bit of a bump draft, meaning they could both secure ahead of Sergio Hernandez, meaning that after each and every restart, they were the 1-2, and they were basically boxing out the rest of the field. That helped that Nieuwhof managed to get away. They obviously led quite a lot of this early stages, but he had Hernandez for company for such a long amount of time. And then Van Ekhoven, he found the rhythm, he found the pace. He was able to help his teammate, and Hernandez, in the end, not even on the podium in 4th place. I'm sure he won't be too displeased about that, but Hasse, you can take us down the full race order.
Well, as I said, a 1-2 for Team Down Under with Kenzie Nieuwhof and Frederik Van Ekhoven. And then Matthew Sufi taking Simracersworld Esports to the podium as well in the 64 car in 3rd. Hernandez in 4th. And Bart DeVos completing the top 5 for ASK Racing. That's the Volandi Racing car as well. Kim Behaid 6th for Flemish. And Sven Kalpert, Anton Dupan, Ian Roots, and Paul Gosling for Quantum Racing, who completes the top 10. In 11th, it's John Tusting, then Hendrik de Grave, Robert Lundgren, if you will. Tim Perry, Gregory Franks, Brian Harris in 16th, and then leaving up the peak, and Roger Morton in 18th place. And scrolling down the list, 19th is Even Baumans, Jochen Lennartz, the boss, in 20th, Lawrence Klootz, 21st, Kurt van Hoornager in 22nd, and then Thijs van den Bergen in 23rd. Steven de Wolf, 24th, and Ryan Walker, the ever unlucky soul in the 555 machine, 25th today. Bram van Heugden in 26th, Yves Fredericks in 27th, and Luke Hobson in 28th position.
Well, everybody can take a breath now, and yeah, hopefully everybody really enjoyed it. If you are actually watching this back and you're a competitor, congratulations on what it was a fantastic night of racing. We've managed to get all the way through to the actual laps allowed. We were 5 minutes off the time period dropping off, but we're going to have a look, Hasse, see if there's anybody coming into the interview waiting room. I see we do have one driver. Let's have a look and see how many more we get. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying that one. I'll let you take an interview, I believe. Let's go with Matteo Sufi to start with. Obviously, our 3rd place man. I'll bring him in, Hasse, and you can bat him away. Not bat him away, but talk to him.
So I'll just get the bat here from behind my chair, and as Matt comes in, right over the head. No, I'm sorry. Matthew, 3rd place for Simracersworld Esports, and a very good, very entertaining race here at Pocono. I'm thinking hectic finale. Are you sweating right now?
Yeah, I'm a bit. I'm actually pleased to finish in front of Sergio there. I had a nice fight with him there in the last couple of laps. and he was faster, but he couldn't get past me there at the end. I think we both went in the wall the 2 corners before the end. We both went in the wall, overdriving it, and then I just was able to nudge him there for P3 over the finish line, which feels great. And a big congrats to Kenzie and to the Team Down Under guys there for the win. Nice drive there.
Indeed, and in terms of the overall championships, getting up there in podium places, does that leave you with an urge to taste even more of the finer medals of the podium places?
Yeah, obviously, man. I want to at least win one of these things this season. I was a bit unlucky in Texas when I was badly damaged in one of the crashes, and then I forgot to engage my fast repair, and I had 30 minutes repairs there, and so I was done for the day. So that's not a good result there. But now I have a P2 in Michigan, P3 here. So next logical step would be first place.
Well, indeed, and it seemed like tire management here at Pocono was a key element in this race. How did you find the tire situation out there on track today?
Yeah, the trick was not to overdrive the entry of the corner, because it's really easy when you have new tires to go fast and overdrive it. But if you overdrive, especially the entry of the corner, things get very, very tight very quickly. So the trick was to back off corner entry and then slowly pick up the throttle again during mid corner and then ease up on the outside coming out of the corner. So yeah, it was a tire management race, but all the cautions that we had in the end, we didn't have too much of long green runs, so yeah, it was not too bad.
All right. Well, indeed, congratulations on a well-fought, well-battled, and well-managed race. In the end, 3rd place, well-deserved. And we hope to see you again here in the interview booth, in the commentary booth, for an interview for one of these races as well. And hopefully, it'll be on the top podium step. In the end, before we let you off the hook, Matthew, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Yeah, well, like always, my teammates. I had a good laugh with Ian and Gregory on Discord there during the race. We actually were laughing at all the cautions that were happening, and so big thanks to them for cheering me up during the race, and thank you to you guys for calling the race. I'm sure it's with all the cautions, I don't think it was that exciting, but at least in the end, the racing was good. So thank you again.
Well, that's a pleasure to hear. Nice. It's nice. It's interesting, even with the cautions. And you always, as a commentator, you know what's coming. So don't worry, we've got ours for when you come to the end of these races. It was brilliant indeed. Anyways, Matthew, thanks for joining us here, and until next time, chill, man.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a good evening. Bye.
So that was Matthew Sufi, and we're gonna continue up the podium, and we're gonna have a word with the man in second himself. It's gonna be Jack Oliphant and Frederick Van Eekhoven.
Yeah, Frederick, congratulations on 2nd place. I was going to say 2nd place on the podium, but apparently I've been reliably informed that you don't have podiums in NASCAR. But Frederick, you must be very pleased with that. You obviously worked very well with your teammate, Kenzie, at the top of the order as well. It must have been quite a bit of discussion that was going on in the Discord.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we've been on Discord for quite a while now, for 3 rounds. We've been communicating, doing everything perfect, but Sergio was round after round just too strong for us. This time we were able to pull the advantage towards the team Down Under.
Yeah, well, I think there was, for me, there's a point that stuck out. I think, obviously, we had a lot of caution periods towards the end, so they're pretty hard to distinguish them. But there was one where you ended up, or Kenzie, I can't remember which way around it was, bump drafting the other to go from 1st and 3rd up past Hernandez. That was inspired. We were calling it out and Hasse was getting very, very excited about it. But that was absolutely inspired. Was that just communication? Did you plan that? Or was it a bit like you were in 3rd place and you thought, oh, come on, Kenzie, get a move on, come on, move out of the way?
Well, that one wasn't really planned because Sergio was the lead car, so he decided when to start. And he started on green, and I don't know if he spun his tires or something like that, but we was just a bit stronger on the restart. And Kenzie was right up my bumper, he was just drafting perfectly, so I was just perfect.
Well, it was certainly very exciting from our perspective. Obviously, qualifying didn't quite go your way, but you seemed to find the rhythm in the race. Was that, did you just not get the time that you were expecting in qualifying, and then in the race you sort of learned the track a little bit more and learned how to manage the car a bit better? What's the story there, or was it just the fact that you just managed to play the field and get up through the order?
I've kind of messed up qualifying. I was about 3 or 4 tenths slower than I expected to be. But it's a long race, so I just stayed calm and went through the pack without trying to cause that many trouble.
Yeah, well, you did one of the few things, one of the very rare things in the SRW NASCAR Series, and that's not have to use a quick repair, I believe. So you, 3, 4, maybe 5 drivers all did exceptionally well, I think. And before I let you go, Frederick, is there anybody you'd like to give it a quick shout out to, a thanks to, before we wrap up the stream?
Yes, Team Down Under, and maybe my biggest fan, my brother, who's always sitting right next to me. So thank you.
Oh, that's really sweet. No, brilliant, Frederick, and well done to you and your brother for the moral support. Yeah, nice to speak to you, and hopefully we'll be chatting to you next week, potentially maybe about a win or maybe another Team Down Under success, regardless whether it's you or Kenzie. But it's been nice chatting to you, Frederick.
Thank you.
That was our second place finisher, Frederick van Eekhoven. I think actually we might just have time for one more interviewee. And it's not our race winner, Kenzie Newhoff. I think he was in the waiting room for a moment, but he's disappeared again. He might have been a busy man. You know, people do have real life commitments sometimes. But it's one driver I'd like to have a word with anyways, because I think I raced with him this weekend. So I'm gonna bring him in. He's been waiting for some time. He, I think he had a bit of a toughie of a race. We're gonna hear from him now. It's Roger Morton. And Roger, welcome to the booth. Nice to have you along for an interview, mate. And seemed to be a bit of a tough race for you in the 92 car, with incidents not really any fault of your own. How was your feeling of the mid-pack racing today?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah. To be honest, I'm still new to oval racing. Really, I haven't really done a lot of it. And I thought, why not a rookie? Advertised as a rookie league, but it seems to be a lot more than just rookies in here. But yeah, it was all right. A few incidents in there, but we're doing all right. Yeah, I had fairly good pace while I had new tyres and that, but it's just trying to learn to save the tyres. But yeah, we did all right. I'm happy.
Indeed, Roger. And that aside, I think we two met on track this weekend at the 24 Hours of Sebring at the charity event, or am I very much not mistaken?
I did, yeah. Was you racing, were you? Yeah.
I was in the Team Simpact, the very, very colorful LMP2, the rainbow.
Oh, yes.
So, anyways, that was a pleasure on track with you.
Yeah, that was a good event. Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed the endurance races. Doing the 90-minute NASCAR race, I thought, well, I can do the endurance side of it, so I'll be all right on that. Just learning how to use the tyres, predict what everyone else is doing. That's the hardest thing.
That makes sense. Well, I think it's a pleasure having you along as a rookie as well in the series. We're really glad to have you along, and let's have some chats along the season as well. Do tune in for another interview. Let's have a chat about how you're finding your learning curve with these NASCARs, because I've never driven the Cup car and I would love to know. But anyway, yeah. Roger, before we let you off the hook here and let the stream come to a close, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout or a thank you to?
I'd like to thank Result Clothing, my team. I'm still waiting for them to sort me a paint out, but I think I'll be doing a lot more of it. So yeah, and a thanks for you lot in the booth as well with the commentary. I do enjoy watching you. It's a good pleasure being a part of it.
Well, thanks, Roger, for joining us as well. Thanks for racing in the lead. We do appreciate that as well, and hope to see you again here in the booth soon. So that was Roger Morton and the 92 machine in for a bit of a chat. We've got the league boss, the big boss, Ian Roots is here as well. And I was about to run out the stream, Ian, but I think when you're here, I can't really do that, can I? So I think I'd better track the big boss in and have a bit of a word. But Ian, another top 10 place for yourself and a lot of close battling, it seemed. Are you happy with the racing you saw today from your league participants?
Yeah, a few too many cautions really, mid to rear, cold tyre. I think most of them are cold tyre incidents. Tyres do drop off very quickly behind the pace car, and they need some looking after, and going 3 and 4 wide into turn 1 or the dog leg at turn 2 is just a little bit irresponsible. But luckily for me, it was all behind me. I could see it all unfolding in my mirrors, 4 and 5 wide. But yeah, for me, no, good race. I really enjoyed that. Slightly better pace than last week. I quite enjoyed the track. It was all about tyre management. It was look after your tyres, and you could kind of run down into the 53s. If you were in the 53s, you were going to be there or thereabouts at the end. But no, it was a good race. Really enjoyed it.
And so did we. I think we can safely say as well. This being the halfway point of the season, now 3 more rounds to go. How would you sum up the season we've had here so far, Ian?
I think it's been fantastic, actually. I've watched it back, and I'm sure many of the other guys have, and you guys are doing a grand job. Like I said right at the beginning, we're all learning. It's new for all of us. It is effectively a rookie league. There are some fast guys at the front, but you'll get that in any league anyway. I think for the majority of people, we're all learning what we're doing, including you guys. I think it's been fantastic. I think it's a great spectacle. We're getting some good views on the channel. Let's kind of push on and do the second half of the season. And we've got Charlotte and Daytona to come as well. Both of those great tracks. Daytona, as you know, it's absolutely flat out 3 wide at nearly 200 miles an hour, which is going to be the grand finale at the end of the season. But I think the format works well. We were worried about the 90-minute limit. So far, we haven't hit the limit, I don't think. We've actually managed to get to the full race distance each time, which is fantastic. That just goes to show that there is a lot of green flag running, and when it is green flag, I think everybody's having a ball.
Oh, indeed, Ian. When we're happy with the racing and anything, but most of all, when you're happy, we're happy.
Yeah, it is new for us, and NASCAR is something completely different. But there's quite a few people on the grid got to learn a few rules, and they need to kind of watch a few videos to see how it's done. Starts mainly following that pace car. But everybody's beginning to communicate in the chat now, and by communicate, I mean actually give hints and tips and tell people where the safety car is on the track, so we don't have people checking up and having accidents under safety car, which is great. We're all learning, and I think it's a great experience for all of us. And yeah, I think it's here to stay.
Well, that is great news indeed, Ian. I think that goes for me and Jacko as well. But before we let you off the commentary hook, Lord, may you never be stuck on that. Before we let you off the interview hook, mate, as anyone else here, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Yeah, just a couple of people tonight. Bram, obviously, league director, is doing a great job communicating to the guys what needs to be done and sourcing the setups and what have you. I think it's working very well for Bram, so big shout for Bram. But mainly tonight, teammates, camaraderie in the chat tonight was fantastic, and there was a bit of laughter tonight, and laughter makes the world go round. So yeah, cheers to Matthew and Gregory tonight. Great laugh and great race, great result for Simracersworld.
Well, that's good to hear, Ian. Thanks for coming in for the interview, and we'll be sure to hear more from you throughout the season. And with that, I'll be concluding our broadcast here from tonight. Of course, you've been watching the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series, Round 3 from Pocono. Of course, sponsored by Dynamixx Racing Simulators. You can find a link to their webpage in the description below, which I advise you to go check out, indeed. We'll be back next Monday. It'll be me and Jacko, indeed, as we're going to Charlotte, which... it's one of the tracks I actually know. Huh. So, would you believe it? Maybe not from the Cup cars, but from the street stocks nonetheless. That's going to be a good one, I think. It's a fast track, and it usually makes for some hectic racing, just like any other Rømer in the end. We're going to be, rubbing our hands already in anticipation of what's to come, and plenty of more good stuff to come here on SRW TV as well, including a Belcar Winter Series coming up. More on that. Ooh. And oh yes, exactly. And you can hear me rubbing my hands big time here. I'm gonna make sure they don't turn into some fiery stuff all of a sudden. But anyways, thanks so much for tuning in with us tonight. Leave us a like if you think we deserve it, and subscribe for more great sim racing content here on Simracersworld TV. And with that, my name is Hasse Rømer. I've been with Jack Oliphant. It's been an absolute pleasure having you all along for the ride. And until next time, take care, have fun, and so long.